Hello everyone, can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can, let me know in the stream, in the chat rather, that you can see, hear me, see the game. We're on a little bit of a delay. Hopefully you can see FPL Captain's nice graphics there and I haven't messed it up. No comments in the chat yet. Can hear and see you, Michael Young, lovely. Tala, what a layout. Peter Carter, thumbs up. Love it. Hi David Storm. Strom, I should say. Scala. Love it. It's been a long time, guys. Evening, Rob Reed. Feels like it's been forever for me. Missed it so much. Don't know about you guys. It really has felt like a long time. Luke has hair. I certainly do. Jack Wilson. I shaved specially for this, guys. I was probably yetiing it up until then. Dick Wellington, all the names come flooding back. Hi Jack. Love it. Right. No haircuts since 01. If only. My hair grows incredibly fast. Years of shaving it. Like some sort of Cockney gangster. Is it still hot in the apartment? Well, I'm in a tiny little room that's just, yeah, the PC's about to blow up, you can probably hear it. And yeah, the heat, it's a lot in there, I'll tell you. Where's the crown? It's broken, David. My kid broke it. Ridiculous. New Champman player. Okay, Michael, we got you covered, don't worry. Don't worry. I've got my little list here of things I've got to say. I'm a bit rusty, but we'll get there. Right, first of all, I'm just going to say thank you to all the other guys that are working behind the scenes. These guys are smashing it. There's too many to name. You know all of them. You know, some of them are in the chat right now. Panda, Tala, so many. Captain with the graphics. Andy Martin as well just appeared in the chat. They're working ridiculous hours. You know, they finish work, they got kids, they got lives, and then they're putting in the hours behind the scenes to make this thing work. So big thanks to them. And we made it. Season 2. It's not far away. Ray Guna, sticking with this where Arsenal aren't a shit in this year. Can't promise anything. Can't promise anything there. So, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be previewing 10 teams today, I think. Basically all the teams that have had their pre-seasons already given to you via the Twitter feed. It's actually only 8 that have been fully done, and 2 of them are getting done tomorrow, so we're going to cheat a little bit and give you those as well. Don't want the stream to be ridiculously long, so the plan is to do 10 teams today. We're going to do 10 teams next week, which usually it's going to be on a Sunday. I'm actually working a late shift on that Sunday, so we may have to change the date or work around it, but usually it will be on a Sunday for these kind of streams. So part 2 will come next Sunday. Then there'll be a final stream the week after that, where it will just be more like a Q&A, preview the fixtures, stuff like that. And then we go live. What date do we go live? So on the 12th we'll be going live, which is Thursday. So game day is always going to be Thursday. Every Thursday, and occasionally in international breaks we may speed that up a little bit, maybe do a few more if we can, and yeah, and then we'll obviously have the Twitter feed that will give you all the information, and we'll have these streams on a regular Sunday that will sort of bring you up to date for the guys who prefer to do it this way. So that's kind of the plan. Obviously make sure you're following the Twitter account, Fantasy Champman is it? Pretty sure it is, you guys can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Obviously get yourself on the website, I think that should be in the description. And start picking your team. Sorry, I'm doing this because I know a lot of you are, you know the crack. Some people will be new, so just throwing it out there. What else do I need to tell you? I think that's about it. So I'm just going to rabble a little bit before I break down the 10 teams. So obviously we've got a new season. There's going to be new heroes, new villains. Guys who have played this game, both fantasy and normal, will know that it's a bit random. Some random stuff can happen. Yeah, we're in 0203 FPL Badger. Come on, keep up now. So, just want to talk to you a little bit about pricing. Obviously, the prices probably seem to be a little bit on the high side this season compared to last. Basically, how we did it is nearly everyone involved behind the scenes has put in a price for most players. We've then come to an average. And then I've basically gone over the average, and on some of them I've tweaked them based on sim data. Now, I know you can't really do that in FPL. You can't sim a game and then look at their price retrospectively. But in a game that has static prices, I think like getting pricing is prices correct is really important. Obviously adds to the game. If there's players out there that are just broken, Stephen McPhails from last season, etc., then it can kind of kill the game a little bit. So, we've tried our best there. We've tried to make it work as best we can. No doubt there will be some that are wrong, hence the fact that it is random. But generally, if a player has got a higher price than you think they should be worth from Season 1, it's probably because they did pretty good in our sim data and seem to do pretty well. So don't just discount these guys, is what I'm saying. We've basically priced people on their consistency. Virtually anyone can smash it in this game. Anyone who sims the game will tell you, anyone who plays it, you can have virtually any single player have an outlier season of like 15 assists or something stupid, and it can happen here. But really what you're paying for is consistency. You're paying, was it 13.5 million for Ruud van Nistelrooy? You're paying that because the guy smashes it nearly every sim. Now there will be some sims out there where he gets like less than 10 goals in a season. Will it be this one? We don't know. But obviously you're paying that big bucks because he's been consistent. So stick with it. There are definitely some gems out there. And this is where I want to talk to you guys about sort of bonus points a little bit. When we've gone through the keepers and the defenders, I think we've largely ignored bonus points. So you've kind of got an in there. We've kind of looked at the clean sheet potential of the teams more than anything. Obviously there's some attacking output featured in there as well. But largely we've ignored it, and the guys who played Season 1 will probably vouch for this. Generally your 4.5 million keepers and your 5 million keepers can do just as well as the big guys. I mean, some of these big teams can hit 20, 25 clean sheets and obviously make a mockery of their price as well, but you have to think about a bonus in this game, I think, and if you can kind of identify early who the bonus point players are, especially in defence and midfield, you've kind of always got, defence and goalkeeper, you've always got that to fall back on. Even if you have a stinker of a week, clean sheets are really hard to predict. Midfielders generally don't get as much bonus, that's why we've tried to make them a little bit cheaper across the board where we can. Obviously the ones who did really well last season have gone up. But with them, I think targeting the players who not only play most weeks, which is important, but have set pieces, corners and stuff to fall back on, because they don't do well on that bonus. They can still lose. You can still lose 3-1 or something, and they may have picked up the assist from a corner and just trickled along with points. I guess just like real fantasy, right? So what I'm saying there is they don't necessarily have to be cheap in defence. There's some really good expensive defenders as well, but I would pay proper attention to the bonus points that defenders are getting. Set pieces for midfield is good. Goals are really hard to predict for them. There'll be a few that hit double figures, but predicting who that'll be will be tough. And then forwards are obviously the money shot in this game. I think that's where you want to spend most of your transfers if you can help it. If you've got these guys like Van Nistelrooy are worth so much money because even if they blank, they generally get an 8 or a 9 and therefore get some bonus points. So you can kind of have a stinker and still do well if you target these kind of guys, I think. And that's the way I'd look to play it anyway. Obviously, you're your own man. You can do whatever you like. What else am I going to say? I think that's about it on pricing. I know you're eager to get into it. Oh yeah, targeting fixtures. Driving managed to pull over for a few minutes. Oh, Thomas, that is dedication. Don't let me stop you, dude. You can always watch this back. Fixtures in this game are massive, I think, or more matchup are massive than anything. Generally, there's a massive home advantage. Quite a lot of the time the home teams will win. It's not like football these days, especially in lockdown. Big teams at home to a lesser side, they're probably going to win, like a lot of the time. So targeting these guys is good. But obviously, you guys know about reputation and how it works. Sometimes players can be rested in these games as well, so that's like the double-edged sword. So sometimes, especially for the bigger teams, like your Man Uniteds and stuff, when they're actually away from home, not only we've got more chance of your premium assets actually playing, which is a good thing, but quite often they'll be playing, say they're playing Charlton or something, Charlton will actually play attacking at home, where they'll play more defensive away from home. So as a result, the game can be more open, because Man United will also play attacking. So don't just discount away fixtures. You have to look at each game independently, I think. But it's going to be tricky. but we're going to walk you through it. Because it's so tricky, because we got new managers, because we got new prices, new squads, it's extremely hard to sim, because obviously we're a whole season ahead now. We're going to hold your hand a little bit to begin with, and then we're going to throw you in to the wolves. So I think from for the first game week there may be a few more bits of information around team leaks. I think the scouts got something planned. Don't worry, it's not going to be handed out on a plate every week like that, but for the first week we might dip our noses in a little bit more than we usually will. And especially in the first few weeks, guys, very hard to predict lineups. You saw it from the beginning of season 1, 2 or 3 teams will just play random players. It's like the AI is trying to work out who it wants to play for the season in the first few weeks, and it's no different at the beginning of season 2. For us, the Wolves promoted next season. Maybe. I mean, they're a good side, but they had a lot of their players taken. Hello, Drono. Right, I think I've said everything I want to say. I've got a specific list of 10 teams that I've got to talk to you about, and I cannot show you the other ones, guys. Which is, it's kind of frustrating, but it's kind of cool too, because then we have to wait for it. So I'm just going to get my list so I don't mess it up. Right, we're going to start with Newcastle. Dun dun dun. Okay, as you can see here, there are so many more players in the Newcastle team than there is on the player list for fantasy. There's a good reason for that. A lot of them won't play, basically. We've got B team or under 21 players that are listed in the squad, and we didn't want to blow your minds by listing every single player in there having millions of 4s and 4.5s that won't play, because it just makes it really messy. So we've culled quite a lot of them, and the plan is basically to add them if they play. If you can see a player here but they're not in the list, it's probably because they played less than 5 games in our sim data, in a lot, and we did a lot of sims. But the thing is, every sim's different, as we've touched on. Sometimes injuries will happen to certain players where a player will be given a chance in one sim where he wouldn't in another. So as a result, it's impossible to predict who might pop up, and we'll just add them as they play. So don't panic if you can't see your guy. You know, you see a player here and you're worried he might take a spot. It's a very, very slim chance that they will be taking your spot. And yeah, we can click through some of these unhappies and injuries, etc. So Andy's already noticed Chettle transfer listed. He requested a transfer, but he would now like to stay at the club. The old classic CM. So Mr. Chettle's pretty pissed off. Doesn't mean he won't play, but it's not looking good for him, is it? Laurent Robert wants a new contract. I think that was the same at the end of last season, and Newcastle seem to have absolute shit for cash, so it's causing a bit of an issue throughout the squad. I'll click on all these unhappy for you. Davies is homesick, thinking of moving clubs. I think he's been like that for a while. Again, seemed to stop him playing at the back end of last season a little bit, but there's nothing to say that he won't start playing again. Harper wants first team football. That's not going to happen, mate. Yeah, we'll cover transfers near a little bit. Elliott is out for a week with a groin strain, 90%. So we all know what that means, right? He could still play, of course, because he's only orange flagged. I actually expect Elliott to, I'm not going to say, he's going to be the favoured left back, I think. But most of the Newcastle defence gets rotated. Given's your safe pick, and I would say probably the next is Marcelino, seems to get the next appearance points, and then it's usually either O'Brien or Dabizas who fills in next to him. O'Brien's probably actually Dabizas gets the highest average rating out of most of them, but O'Brien's not bad either. However, Marcelino seems to be the most nailed. It's not always that way, and they do rotate quite a lot at the back though. Barton as well, at right back, he's 33 years old now, doesn't seem to stop him though, and he will generally play at right back, I would have thought. So that's pretty much the back four. I'm just going to click on transfers in and out for you guys. So Maddison came in and Hughes came in, who's a very good player in this actually. As for the outs, these guys got the boot. Jimmy Walker was only brought in January, I think, as a backup keeper, and he already shown the exit. Obviously Solano, the main one, with Basidas. But that opens up a midfield slot for the new guy Maddison, who was at Bolton last season. Didn't pull up any trees by any means, but was pretty solid. He's 4.5 million. I expect him to play in centre midfield with Stephen Hughes, who as you can see, stats are pretty good. The long shot's 18, that's good. Like that a lot. He gets quite a few goals from midfield for a centre midfielder anyway. Set pieces are pretty high. He's got some pace, so he's not bad. Technique, and again, he's one of those guys who we priced him quite highly at 8 million because he generally did pretty well on Sunday, and people who play with Watford and stuff will tell you he is a good player. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can do bits. Robert, who was injured for was it 4 or 5 months last season? Again, he's another guy who can do very well for these long shots and these set pieces. So yeah, he can churn out some really good seasons. Dyer's obviously unhappy as well because he dislikes Laurent Robert. He pisses quite a lot of people off, and his stats are fantastic. He will be on the right wing most of the time. Midfield's pretty set, I think. Speed's unhappy, trying to force his way into the first team. Decent stats, but didn't seem to play too much. And Bellamy, what is he unhappy for? He wants a new contract, of course he does. So, new manager Joe Kinnear, actually, I'm going to touch on this now. I'm going to do a deep dive into tactics in another video, but the interesting thing about Mr. Joe Kinnear, and this is the thing, prefers a direct attacking style of play. Joe Kinnear plays long ball. Not short, not direct, not mixed, he plays long ball, which is extremely rare at the high level of football in this. In fact, it's generally detrimental to play that way. However, when you've got a man like Alan Shearer, who basically wins every header because of his high jumping stat and is a beast in the air, I think it will probably work in Alan Shearer's favour, but more to the detriment of the midfield. Generally, the defenders are going to hoof it straight to the strikers. So yeah, that's something to watch out for. They will try to bypass the midfield in their tactic. Whether it works like that, we'll see, but he will play long ball, home or away, and he doesn't change it. So these big guys up top, they could possibly benefit. In terms of possession stats and stuff like that, I'd expect them to have less possession than most teams, even at home, as a result. Managers make a big, big difference. He's the 0203 Sean Dyche, says Cole. Yeah, it's very strange to see long ball at the top level. In fact, if you read the manual, it basically says you shouldn't play that way unless you're in the lower leagues. So maybe that tells you something. What haven't we done? Condition. So condition, there's nothing really to write home about here. Obviously, everyone's had a pre-season, everyone's back, everyone's been training. For the vast majority of people who aren't injured, they're all going to be in these high 90s. Is there anything anyone wants to see about Newcastle before we move on to the next team? I'm going to talk a little bit about fixtures at the end. For me, Marcelino's a fairly solid pick in defence. All of the midfielders are great. Robert, Dyer, Hughes, Maddison at 4.5. I like all of them. And the strikers. Court, 7 million. I think HH is saying there is a good option. I think he is a good option. Generally plays very well with Shearer. So yeah, he's definitely an option. I think a lot of people will go with Shearer given their fixtures at the start for good reason, so therefore Court might get ignored, but I do think he can be good. And he's basically got zero threat, those guys up front. You know, when I say zero threat, I'm talking over 30 games because no one's nailed in ChampMan, as we know. So Bellamy might come in on the odd occasion, but it's going to be pretty rare. So yeah, I do like Court and obviously like Shearer. I think we'll move on then. Court 40 goals a season, Adams. maybe. Who's next? We're going to go to Spurs. Spurs. I'm just going to show the transfers first, actually. So, Tim Sherwood's gone to Bolton, Ben Thatcher to West Brom. They should have held on to the defenders really because they've got so many injuries at the back. And that's the players they got in. Stunning amount of players. A lot of business there. This is their ginormous squad. I'm just going to go through some of the unhappies. Keller is unhappy, wants a new contract. No, he's not unhappy. Gary Doherty is a one-match red card ban. Defender striker. Maybe we'll see him up front this season a couple of times. And Les still wants first team football. Chris Armstrong wants first team football. Don't think you're going to get it, mate. Everson wants to move to a bigger club. He feels like he's outgrown Tottenham. Interesting, because to be fair, he was pretty good when he actually played for Spurs last season, but he didn't get much of a look in. And this guy, as you can see, is a pretty good youth player. Martin Wood, signed him last season from Motherwell right at the back end. Stats aren't too bad. Off the ball's 20 is very good. So we could see him maybe getting the odd cameo here or there. Who was it last season? Rushbury, wasn't it, or someone like that? Where's he gone? Yeah, Rushbury. So he got a few cameos at the end of the last season, but Wood looks like a better player, so I'd expect Wood would probably get them more. Let's also go through the condition then, guys. Teddy Sheringham is at 90%. He's out for 2 weeks with a calf strain, so not completely ruled out. He can feature. Poor Teddy though, at 36 years old. It's all in the head at the moment. The stats here, the pace of 5, the acceleration of 4. It's not looking good for him. If he does get any games, I wouldn't expect him to be smashing in overhead kicks, put it that way. But he's got a high reputation, so he might come in on the odd game. Salakovic, this is a bit of a blow. He's out for a week with strained ankle ligaments, again at 90%. Now, given he pretty much plays rain or shine, there's still a good chance he could start this week. Orange flagged, or just miss one game, unless of course they bring him on and he gets injured, which is always a chance when they're orange flagged. So who do I expect to play for Tottenham? Keller's looking pretty safe in goal, but they've got five goalkeepers. Mordier or Toto will probably be the backup. As for the defence, there's the 3 main guys at the back, isn't there? Perry, who's a pretty good defender, marking positioning, does alright for average rating. Dean Richards, the player back 3. Who's the last guy? I'm completely missing. Bunjevic. These 3 guys will basically be nailed at centre back. Ledley King, who's developing reasonably, will come in on occasion, usually as a backup. They don't really have too many other options at the back. They've got Gardner back, who was on loan last season, Thirlwall, but you really don't want these guys to be playing because they're not particularly good. And Spurs defence, I mean, even though they've got good defenders, the style of play doesn't lend itself to clean sheets, let's put it that way. Wing backs will be Ziga and Darren Anderton, as usual. However, they did sign Quentin Fortune, who can play on either flank, so he will rotate in for Anderton and Ziga, more often Ziga, every now and then. Etherington's back from loan, he even played at left wing back occasionally. So, might be a little bit of rotation there. In the centre, good old Gus, still gold. I expect him to play nearly every game at centre midfield. And Simon Davies came out very well on sim data. Stats have improved massively. 20 for set pieces, passings 20, flair really good in the game. When you buy him, I think he will largely play over 30 games in centre midfield, I would have thought, alongside Poyet. And I think he's a good option. He was a good option last season, but the game didn't seem to think so and didn't play him. But I think he's got a chance this time of being great. So I expect those two to play in centre midfield. They often play this double AMC role, so we'll probably get, when he's fully fit at least, Salakovic playing AMC, and then up top I think we'll have Everson and Rebrov in the vast majority of games. And Everson, when they both play together, Everson usually gets more goals than Rebrov. He's got the higher jumping and heading and stuff, so he is more of a centre forward in this game. Rebrov's more of a creator. But on occasion they may play that double AMC like I touched on with Sheringham with Salakovic there, or even Sean Wright-Phillips can play in the AMC role. His stats are awful, I don't know why the game seems to like him, but he seems to get quite a few minutes as well. So rotation is quite rife. Craig Kemp saying, does the fact that fortune is foreign improve his prospects of playing? Yeah, I touched on that last season. I think it may play a part because they have to play a certain amount to get their work permit renewed, but I don't know that to be fact. I'm just kind of guessing that therefore it throws them in. He's also obviously come from Man United, so he has got a pretty high reputation anyway, and therefore I think with the bump as well, when you sign him, the game tries to find a space for him with these new signings, as it often does. So yeah, kind of annoying, but Everson's my dark horse here. I think he could be really good. Salakovic, again, if he gets quite a few penalties, he can hit 20 goals in a season for a 9.5 million midfielder. There's basically only him and Varane who can do that, goal-wise. Not good for the bonus, not particularly good for assists, but he can have those freak seasons. So he could easily be worth 9.5 million. Just depends how it rolls. Right, let's move on to the next team, unless you guys got any more questions on Spurs. We're going to go to Leeds next. Andy saying Salakovic over Man United mids. Well, given Salakovic is orange and Man United have got such good fixtures, I think you start with a Man United midfielder, don't you? And then you go to Salakovic maybe later, if they're not performing, or just because you prefer Salakovic. I think Salakovic has probably got the highest upside out of all of them, just because of the penalties. So yeah, that's probably the way I'd play it. Where's Leeds? Here they are. Leeds again. Look at this giant player base. It's really annoying. Wish you could only choose the A team. Jakob. We haven't forgot you, Andy. Jacob Burns. He's unsettled. He wants to get into the first team. Everyone else, apart from David Hay, or Danny Hay, sorry, who's transfer listed. Milosevic, out for 3 months, but he wouldn't feature anyway. And some sort of breaking news. Dominic Matteo is transfer listed by request, with Ipswich and Newcastle being interested. Which would be interesting if they sign him, because not only is he a pretty good player with a fairly high rep, he was even replacing Ian Hart quite often. So I suppose it works pretty well for those who want to go with Hart, because now the main guy who played in Hart's position would be going. However, then you throw another spanner in the works, the new manager likes to play 3-5-2. So, you know, therefore the likes of Hartwell Singh can come in at left wing back. But if he does go to Ipswich or Newcastle, you could expect him to be pretty much a lock in either of those teams, given his reputation. Maybe you replace Clapham at left wing back for Ipswich, for example, and he could replace, I'm almost certain he'd replace Wayne Quinn at left back. He even comes in at centre back, actually, Matteo, sometimes as well, so I think he'd then be the go-to in the Newcastle defence as well. I think he's 5 million, yeah, Tom says 5 million. Scala saying Robinson first choice keeper. I think he will be. Generally, when you run Sims the second season, Robinson takes over. It doesn't always happen though. Sometimes Martin hangs on. But if I had to bet, I'd say Robinson is now going to be the number one. As a result, I don't think you can go with either of the keepers to start, because it's just too risky. But I'd say it's like 85% chance Robinson from now on. So, what to talk about from Leeds or else? Let's go through condition first. Everyone's good there, so we don't need to worry. Yeah, because they play, let's see if they actually did. They only had one friendly, didn't they? And they didn't even play their proper formation. You're just going to have to trust me that they play 3-5-2 with wing backs. I don't really like that formation in this game. But what it does mean is that there'll obviously be 3 centre backs now, so you're going to have Ferdinand, probably rather be hanging on for a bit, and then Woodgate as the third, who is a pretty good defender in this game. Also, Dubry is very, very good as well. So eventually, I expect Dubry to replace Radaby, and that's a solid back three, that is. You'll have Ian Hart at wing back. Occasionally we'll get swapped in for Harpal Singh in the odd game, which is annoying. But given Hart's on pens, free kicks, everything, corners, and a wing back spot, he's got a chance to do very well. That's why it's 7 million. The rotation can be annoying though. You just have to take it on the chin when it happens. As for the right wing back, generally it's going to be Kelly who plays there, but Mabry is also there. Kelly's stats coming across quite nicely there. He's at peak age now, really. I expect he'll play most of them. Mabry did do really well last season when he actually came in, so there'll be a bit of rotation there. And in centre midfield, it's tricky, but Bowyer, who was injured most of last season, look at these stats, really good. He's actually got high corner stat, the same as Ian Hart, so occasionally shares them with Hart, and that can bump his assists up as well. So he should play in one of the centre midfield roles quite often. As to who plays with him, you're going to see McPhail because this sim seems to love him, so I would have thought you're going to see him quite a lot. Baka can also play there. There's also Decor. There's a whole host of players who can play here, including Harry Kewell, who sometimes get chucked into centre midfield like Salakovic for Spurs does. So Harry Kewell can often end up there, which is kind of annoying because it's not the best spot to have this guy, but he can do a job there. He's actually got really good attributes for a centre midfielder as well. Andy's saying hopefully Bowyer playing for England so he can get some caps. Yeah, buff his reputation, etc. Should make him more nailed, if anything. As for the AMC slot, it's basically going to be Kewell, or it's going to be where's he gone? Robbie Keane, who will drift into it. Robbie Keane's stats are amazing. He's got, I've said it before, he's got -2 potential, which means it could be 200, but it's certainly high because his stats don't often go as good as this. So it could be a breakthrough for him. Last season was he did okay, but not fantastic. Maybe this new formation will suit him. It'll be like Pedersen in the AMC slot, who occasionally goes up top. So we could see big things from Robbie Keane. The main guy everyone wants to know about is Alan Smith as well. Just look at those stats. They've got such good forwards. He's playing for England now. You know, in Sims, regularly seeing him getting over 20 games. But do you want to spend all that money on a striker who's only going to get 20 games? It might be one where you have to wait for an injury and then bring him in. I'm not sure. He's definitely high risk, high reward though. Does do fantastic when he gets minutes usually. Bridges is still here. Again, his stats are decent as well. Doesn't seem to see the minutes like the other ones, but you can't write him off. Does Martin O'Neill play short passing? I don't believe he does. I can't remember. Let me bring up something for you to help you out. Where have they gone? Hopefully you can see this. This is how Leeds will play their team instructions in home matches, in easy home matches. So attacking, mixed, which isn't bad, and they will deploy the offside trap. In tough home matches, which basically means against Man United, they might drop the attacking. Virtually against everyone else, they'll be attacking at home. And I'm going to deep dive into the tactics of teams in another stream, because it's more niche, I guess, for some people. Viduka, look at that, 9, 10, 7, 10, 10. Doesn't stop, does he? So he could easily do very, very well as well. Mixed passings, yeah, it's probably, long with short, it's probably the best style overall, so nothing to worry about there. Shall we move on? Has anyone got any more questions about Leeds? I'll pause for a second just in case. This guy Fernando as well is not bad. I've seen him feature quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in every now and then as well. Oh, Fernando. Right, I think we're good. Let's move on. Sunderland. No, I'm not. Mabry's not nailed. I think Kelly's ahead of him. And he's not nailed either. But I think Mabry's second choice. Sunderland, with their 6 goalkeepers. some injuries in there. I think some of those you know about. Let's do the transfers first then. So they got Neil Ardley in from Wimbledon on the Bosman. He's not a bad player. I know we just looked at some Leeds ones, so he doesn't look the best now. But this set piece is 18. He seems to take them along with corners, and he's got a really high corner stat. So he can rack up assists. He's kind of like that Dennis Wise. If you look for his stats last season, played virtually every game for Wimbledon, 5 goals, 10 assists, 5 man of the match. That's not bad at all. Hardly any transfers, love that, Cole. That is witty, I'll hand it to you. Danny Mills and Craddock left. You like that one, Andy, didn't you? Yeah, we couldn't make Arco a defender. He's playing midfield virtually every game. I'd put a wager on it that Arco won't play left back unless Michael Gray's injured. Like there's a slim chance every now and then, but even then we see how he can perform. Arco's expensive because, well, first of all, Sunderland don't keep clean sheets. I think every game last season. Let's go back. I mean, look at their games. Goals everywhere. So if anything, that probably helps him that he doesn't get minus points. Obviously he gets 1 point less for a goal, but generally his thing was average rating and assists. So I think if anything, I mean he only got 5 last season, so what's that, 5 extra points that he would have got for his goals. It's his average rating and stuff, which is rare for a midfielder, so he's still a good pick I think at that price, and now he can't get minus points. However, I do like his mate on the opposite flank, which will be Teal, who didn't set the world alight last season, but when you consider the games are less than Arca, 2 less goals, again, relatively high average rating, this guy can go off. He can do really well with assists, because he's got that pace, acceleration, technique, flair, balance. He's not bad. He's not bad. Yeah, I still like Teal a lot. I think he's one of those midfielders who could vastly outscore his price. He's setting up, I mean, there's a team with Kevin Phillips in it, right? Who will probably hit 20 goals again, you'd imagine. And someone's got to get the assists. Generally, they come from the flanks. So your Arcas and your Teals. Hardly with the corners. But that's it. I think Teal's fairly nailed. He's not completely nailed, but they don't really have anyone else who can play on the right hand side. Occasionally they used to throw in Bart Williams there, but I think he'll play most of it. Emerson Tone 4.5 is daylight robbery. If you're looking for a 4.5 million midfielder, like I say, we price these guys mainly on their clean sheet potential. Sunderland don't have any. Tome, although his stats aren't brilliant, he's got 20 for bravery, 17 for aggression, therefore he makes loads of tackles, and therefore he gets bonus points a lot. So yeah, don't bank on the clean sheets, but high rating, the odd goal. I think he's a real standout at that price, to be honest with you. Isa as well can also do very well because he's got the high jumping stat, wins a lot of key headers. Both of these guys at 4.5 are good picks in my opinion, and there's an argument to roll with both, I think. Let's just stick on injuries. So Swartz is out for 7 months, cruciate ligaments, poor guy. He was in a reserve game against Watford as well. What a waste. Kilban's out for a month with ankle ligaments in the same game. God, what a Watford at. Dirty bastards. Sorensen's still homesick, wants a new challenge, yada yada yada. Everyone hates him, thinks he's disruptive, doesn't seem to stop them playing well there. So Sullivan will be in goal at 4.5 million. And he's not a bad keeper. Prone to the odd howler in this. And so don't keep that many clean sheets, but I would have thought he'll get quite a few save points. Jakob Larsson as well. Another Yak. This is a proper Jakob, I think, Andy. Could be Jacob, who knows. He's not bad. I think he'll play at right back most of the time because they don't actually have a right back in the squad apart from Burnt Arse, who is shite. and transfer listed. So I think he will play the majority. McCartney can play there, but sim data seems to suggest that this will be the man who plays at right back, and he can do alright for assists, similar to Michael Gray really. Any other questions about Sunderland? Medina, look at those stats. They really should play him, but he doesn't seem to get the gig that often. It'll be McCann and Ardling, who both can do pretty well. Sibon. Yeah, I think Sibon's close to nailed. I don't think Ready will come in. He's not ready yet. I think Sibon is very close to nailed. Unless they make any signings, of course. Might actually be Jacob, because he's Danish. Did I say that right? Whee! Yeah, there's Sunderland for you. Who's next? How long have we been going for? 40 minutes or so? That's not bad, is it? Only a few more teams to do. Let's go to Watford. Let's do the transfers first because they've been busy, especially if you're simming guys. So these are the guys they let out season 1. Season 2, obviously Stephen Hughes, the big loss there. And players they bought in season 1 and season 2, the Greek guys. Some tidy signings here. Pen taker for Watford, Adam Petkov, and why I think he's one of the standout picks. If you look at those stats, he will play on the left wing. He's got high jumping, so he wins key headers in the midfield. He's got pace and acceleration to burn. He takes the set pieces, he's on penalties, high technique. The problem is he plays for Watford. So in some games they're going to lose 5-0, aren't they? And he's going to get a 6 or a 5. But he's got everything he needs to be very, very good. Last season for AK, I mean these don't mean anything. When they run in the background it kind of random generates them, so you shouldn't really pay too much attention to it. But he's a tidy player. Definitely my pick. I think the keeper here, he's not bad at all. I think he will, obviously they're going to be getting battered most weeks in terms of goals shipped, but he's another who could be like I suppose like a Dean Kiley, could get bonus points for saves and stuff quite often. Look at the amount of players these guys have got in defence here. Take up the whole screen. This is why it's very tricky to pick who will actually play for Watford in defence. Ramon Vega is close to nailed. He's probably the best one. Oh, don't promote keeper. Sorry, Craig. Ferreira's going to have a high rep because he's come from Chelsea. I imagine he'll play right back. He can play centre back as well, but he'll probably play right back. Then the rest of the team is largely up for grabs. Harrison seems to play most of the games at left back. It's kind of annoying because Robinson, I mean, his stats are great. He's a great player in the game to buy. I'd love it if he was playing, but it doesn't seem to suggest that on sim data that he will that often. More of a bench player, sort of utility man coming off the bench obviously to fill in. Cox will get minutes. There's some sims where Galley, even at nearly 40, will start and have a ridiculously high average rating as well. That old school positioning and markings like the Tony Adams or the Keown. But sometimes he just flat out won't play. So again, I'd hate to predict who will actually start there for you. Ward seems to start most of the time alongside Vega. So that's probably where I put my money, as a back four of Ferreira, right back, Vega, Ward and Harrison. But nothing is certain there. They might rotate for most of the season. They might just pick Galley. Is Galley 4 million? I think he might be. If he is 4 million and he starts the first sort of 3 games or something, he could be your go-to man. Of the 4 million bracket anyway. As for the wings, Tessam will play on the right wing. He does okay. But yeah, much prefer Petkov. Valencia will play in centre midfield. He's a solid player, he's good. The other centre midfielder's not nailed by any means. It can be a whole host of people. Swanall I've seen play there sometimes. Glass, who is out for 1 day with a bruised shin, so that might not stop him. And there's loads of other guys that can fill in there. Williams, the list goes on. They've just got a large squad, very hard to predict who will play. As for up front, it's Tommy Smith and Helgeson nearly all the time. He's out for a week 90%, so that might not stop him. Stats have improved a lot. Superb morale, pace, acceleration, agility. So he doesn't usually, he can score goals definitely, but he's usually more the man who sets up the goals. And Helgeson is a good striker really. He can do well because he's got that high jumping stat. He can surprise. He's actually got 19 for creativity as well. So yeah, he's one of those cheaper strikers that I think could do pretty well. As Smith is injured, there's a chance. Basically, Gifton Noel Williams usually fills in for one of the two if any of them are injured. But also Gale, who is transfer listed by request, has got 20 for set pieces. So if he starts, he can bang in some free kicks. So yeah, I would imagine one of Noel Williams or Gale will come in for Smith if he doesn't make game week 1. Yeah, Tommy Smith's great player to buy. Often buy him when I'm playing this game. Any other questions on Watford, guys, before I move on? We can come back to them if they appear, because we're on a bit of a delay. Let's go to Ipswich. I did show condition for these guys, didn't I? There we go. Just in case I didn't. Ipswich. Again, another massive squad. You guys don't know the erroneous task of going through so much sim data and basically writing off players that didn't play. Otherwise you'd have squads this big. It was tough. So you guys might have seen the tweet. Tariko, who I think is an excellent option. He's out for a few days with a bruised head. Is that even a thing? I don't know. I mean, is that not just concussion, or has he just got a boo-boo? But 90% orange, so he is definitely not completely out of game week 1, is he? Could easily start that. You would have. What's the chances of getting a reoccurring bruised head? I don't know. You would have thought it's quite slim, but I don't think the game necessarily works like that. Haridason is unhappy. He wants to move to a bigger club. To be fair to him, he probably earned it last season, didn't he? Unlike Everson. He's still very good morale. He's still a beast. He's still churning out ridiculous levels of performance. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there. Bramble, just in case you want to see his stats. I think he's 5 million, isn't he? Sort of the cheap route into Ipswich's defence, along with the keeper, Serini. Who's still unhappy because of that. I don't think you can write these guys off. Marshall's a pretty good keeper in this, but generally will only play when Serini leaves if he does. Clapham's on penalties. Plays in the left wing back slot. There's nothing to say that he won't have a better season than last time and outperform the other guys. Gets 8 penalties. You're laughing. These guys at the back, like Gardso and Gunnarsson, they come in quite often at the back. They often play a back 3 though, so it's nothing to worry about for Ryderson and Bramble really. There'll be the odd rotation there, but not too much. Where's Holland? Yeah, Holland is tempting. He is the main man for these guys, there's no doubt about that. Why can I not see him? Yeah. Stats are very good. Yeah, Royce would be class, Craig. I think you saw that in one of my videos. Stats are not bad for playing up front, for playing on the wing, pace, set pieces. It's not bad. Kane doesn't seem to like him too much though. I imagine the midfield three will be Kumas, Holland and Jermaine Wright most of the time. Yes, Amna. Rewind for the after it's finished for the Watford section. We just did there for Petkov. I think is worth a punt. Yeah, Roycer is a beast. He's a good cheap player you can buy. What else? Okay, forwards. Yeah, Ipswich. Sometimes the reputation works against them for their forwards, and they don't score too many goals. But Marcus Stewart can do really well, as can Armstrong, and I think both these guys will basically be first choice. Pablo is the guy who sort of comes in and out. He'll often come off the bench for one of them during a game, occasionally start in front of the other two. But I have had seasons where Armstrong, I mean, every player's done this, you know, it's CM, but he can hit 20 goals in a season, this guy, believe it or not. He has got high finishing and pace. He's got everything he needs. He didn't really get an opportunity last season. And if you look in the league, he's had 9 games, 9 subs, he scored 5 goals. It's not the worst, especially for Ipswich. So if he can get regular game time, he can score a lot of goals. So he could be a dark horse. Likewise, Marcus Stewart didn't do well last season, but there's nothing to say he can't do well this season. There's everyone's condition. Let's move on. We're going to do Bolton. One of the smaller squads compared to most. And the sad news that broke today, Ricardo Gardner. But it's only a week with a bruised thigh. Oh. But he does seem to be pretty injury prone. I think from memory he's got injury prone 11. Someone might want to check that in the editor, but I think it's 11. So overall that's not that bad. You know, basically 50%. So he's just been very unlucky with injuries. Shocker of a season last time. 2 assists, 7.13, dreadful. But as you can see, this high dribble stat here, he's got 20 for dribbling. It's actually higher than 20. He's got a high cheat intrinsic dribbling stat, which means that he can churn out a lot of assists in a season. He's already got 2 in 4 in the friendlies. Not that they necessarily mean anything, but I think he can have a better season this time. I know that FPL tactician Andy was banging on about him last season, but this could be the one. If he can stay injury free, I do like him. David Strom's just thrown out the troll. It's hard to argue with that. But I'm obviously picking a dead team this season. I might just throw Gardner in there, just on the off chance that he goes mad. So I'm strongly considering him. Again, they're a team that play a back three, and they'll have the old heads. Cooper, these guys here, Cooper, Hendry, and now the new sign, the boss from Wigan. Yeah, Bolton won't do great for clean sheets, but these guys will get bonus. They just play very well at the back. You often want the 2 that play on the outside that have the man marking rather than one that plays in the middle on the zonal, because zonal's not particularly good for tackles and headers. And he's got some decent stats in the right areas, marking, heading, etc. Obviously pace is severely lacking, but the pace doesn't bring you headers or tackles necessarily. Maybe helps towards tackles, but not as much as the other stats. So Carl full of them. Ricardo, you're making me crazy. Jesus, you're on fire, mate. Jaskalainen stats, we can click in, yeah. So all of those centre backs are good. I think I'd probably still go Cooper, because he just seems to have an incredible knack of getting bonus points until we can see that DeVos is doing better. But if you were to pick one, I'd probably still go Cooper over the others. In centre midfield, they've got a number of options, but Sherwood seems to play quite a lot, can do okay. Their new guy, Whaley, he's not bad either. He's like an all-rounder, as you can see, capped at a B team level last season for Bradford. 14 assists, 5 man of the match, 5 goals. It's not bad, is it? He's probably overall I think probably going to be the best 4.5 midfielder. Seems to play nearly all the games and can chip in here or there. He'll be like the McAllister of last season a little bit, I guess. or maybe the Jensen. So he'll be my 4.5, I think. Seems to do really well. They did sign Michael Carrick as well, who's got reasonable stats, and they've got Kevin Nolan, so there is a little bit of a threat there, but for some reason on Simdaya, the game didn't seem to like him. So I wouldn't be overly worried about that. They're going to struggle game week 1 though, with no Gardner because he's red, so I don't know who will play at left wing back. Probably Southall? Maybe Southall? Could be anyone. As for right wing back, it's tricky, they don't really have one. So I think we'll see a lot of rotation there. They did sign Fox. He got 20 assists for West Brom. So maybe he goes right wing back. Lots of business. And obviously Madison left, as we touched on before. So then for the AMC spot and the forwards, you've got Pedersen, Wallace and Gota that will play those positions nearly all the time. A little bit of rotation here or there for some of these fringe guys, but not very often. Ricketts, who's actually their only sort of young player that is half decent, is transfer listed by request, unsettled, isn't convinced he'll get in the manager's plans. So if you're looking at Pedersen, who's expensive but come out very well on Simdaya, then that's a good sign. And especially Wallace, who although he's 32, he usually gets penalties ahead of Pedersen, and he's quite cheap. I do like Bolton this season, so I think Wallace throws his name in the hat for being one of the good options in the lower bracket if you're looking to go that way. Would love it if England still played B teams. I can't even watch their A teams. Yeah, Pedersen is a beast. Certainly is. Where are we going to go now? Well, it's going to go to Man City. Another newbie. So many players. Man City. So let's just have a look at their business. For those who are running sims, you can take this in here. It's a lot of money on Svensson in this day and age. And McNamara they signed from Celtic. Seems to do pretty well for assists actually. Let's go straight to one shot then if you want. As you can see, there's lots of unhappy people, but it's generally people we don't care about. One shot. Here he is. Superb morale. 100%. Ready to go. Thinks Danny Tiato is essential. I agree. To this team anyway. You'll have Huckabee and one shot up front virtually every game. Huckabee can surprise and sometimes do better than one shot. Hayward's like the backup to those two. Well, I think I might have told this joke once before. My brother made it up randomly out of the blue. He says this guy's name is as if a caveman asked for a hand job. Gets me every time. If a caveman asked for a hand job, this is what he'd say. Sorry, maybe it's just me who finds that funny. Svensson will be right wing, and we know he's a fairly consistent player. Didn't get the best of time of it at Southampton. His middle name's Mai. No, he's a caveman. That's why it's brilliant, Andy, because he's limited English. Yeah, that's part of the joke. Okay, that explains it. You don't have to add Mai in. Yeah, we're going for caveman talk. Otherwise, it's any bloke. Yeah, so I mean that's not bad, is it, for Southampton? So Man City are a better team than Southampton. I think they certainly play more, or are better at playing offensively. So he could do better. It's quite expensive. I do prefer the guy on the other wing, who is Danny Tiato. Set pieces is similar to Petkov, this guy actually. Not quite as good as stats, probably a slightly better team. Therefore can have freak seasons because of his good corners and set piece stats. Very good chances on penalties as well. He has a random 0 for penalties, so it could be anything. Could be on none, could be on 20. If not, it generally falls back to Howie. Screaming, remember? You muppet. So I missed his just calling her a muppet. And yeah, penalties fall back on Howie quite a lot of the time. He's probably the go-to pick from their defence, to be honest. Better for bonus than most of the others. Man City's defence is a bit ropey, to say the least. But at home, they're not a bad side. They actually play with some incredibly... I told her it was streaming, she's still come in. For fuck's sake. They play with some really, really strange tactics. They got George Graham, who's obviously the tactical masterclass. But look at this, no preferred style of play, close down, offside, man marking. In fact, I'm just going to bring them up for you. Where's Man City at home? Where have you gone? Where have you gone? One more blind. Here we go. Hopefully this is in your screen. So they run this strange offside trap, pressing, short, attacking. Not many of the teams run, I think no teams ran offside trap last season. Generally good against direct teams, but I don't think many of the teams in the league now play direct, so that could work against them. In tough games, this is kind of what they do at home, so play a little bit more defensively, but that's generally Man United. Virtually everyone else still play attackive. And then where is it? Away games, that's what I want to show you. So this is general away games. So Man City, when they play away, and it could be against poor sides, will actually play defensively with pressing, offside trap and counter-attack. I think less is more here. They're not really combining the right things together, and as a result I would expect them to be a pretty strange team away from home, and struggle as a result. I'm going to show you how they play away in tough games. They also throw on, what was the difference? They throw on men behind ball and take off counter-attack. So in the harder games they just defend and don't even try to attack. So I'm backing them for some strange results. Anyway, I've got sidetracked again into the tactics. I love it. Here's the condition. Everyone's looking good. Lots of unhappy players, but none of them really matter, I don't think. Richie's unhappy. He wants to find first team football. He's a pretty good player in this. He's 4 million. If he does move anywhere, or he does actually play for him, he does pretty well for average rating. So keep an eye out for him. Being 4 million. The fullbacks do pretty well for assists, both of them. McNamara and, I can't say that, McQuilkin. Horlock, who I think is listed as a defender, will play in midfield quite a lot of the time. In centre midfield. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll be any better, but he is potentially out of position. I think that's everything, isn't it? Have I covered everything about Man City? Flitcroft will probably play in centre midfield. No, I don't think Matt Spring will play. Transfer listed as well. He was a bit part player last season, so I can't really see it, unfortunately. Any other questions on Man City? She was in a dressing gown as well. Hopefully you guys didn't get a full eyeful. Not that you'd want it. Who else have I got to do? Right, I'm going to cheat. Taller's told me I can... Taller, you're to blame, mate. I can do Leicester and Charlton, although their friendlies are coming out tomorrow, I think. But it makes it 10 teams. It makes it nice for the next stream, right? So we'll do 10 teams. Let's go for Leicester. Almost got a ball rifle. Can't get out. Is that a caveman saying that? Paul Eiffel. Oh, there's no chance of that, Robbery. Absolutely zero chance of that. She gave up pretending she liked football a long time ago. That was when we first met. Leicester. Condition, let's do that first. No one to worry about. Let's do unhappiness. Akinbaye, he was unhappy last season for not getting first team football, still remains that way. Doesn't mean he can't get it this season. Again, he's one who did alright on Sim Day, seemed to play a lot more this season, so look out for that. Darren Eadie's the main one. He's not a bad player in this at all. Didn't play a single game last season because he was injured for the entirety of it. He's written it off from memory here. Doesn't even feature. But he will play almost exclusively on the left wing. No one, Pete. That's what I was just going to get to. There's basically no one who plays left wing, and as a result, it makes Eadie nailed, which is a rare thing in CM. The only other guy who can play there is Delaney. Generally will play at left back, but the odd occasion may come in left wing or any of the positions that he plays there. But yeah, this makes Eadie, he's not going to be popular because obviously Scowcroft gets the goals, Izzet's got penalties, some set pieces, Wise is the absolute demon at corners, so he'll be the forgotten man, but he's not bad. Yeah, Sturridge will be up front. It'll be the same as before, so Sturridge will be up front with Scowcroft in the AMC role, or occasionally Akinbaye will play up top as well, and therefore Scowcroft will drop into midfield, either in centre midfield or on the right wing. Had to price Scowcroft a little bit more highly because he can still get a lot of goals, did fantastic last season, but yeah, it could be a little bit more of a threat to him if Akinbaye can get into the team. I certainly wouldn't worry about it to start off with, but something to keep an eye on. Dino, yeah, he's not bad at all, is he? He's a good little option. Izzet can sometimes be great. He was pretty bad for us this season, but ended up the season with 8 goals, 4 assists. It's not that bad, is it? Got a few penalties towards the end. So yeah, another one who could outperform his price. And Dennis Wise, how many assists did he get? 13. I think like 11 of these were from corners. Absolutely mental. No reason to say why that would stop. He's got 20 for corners. It'll probably happen again. The Jerry Ferry is now, is he 5 million? I still don't think that's a bad price, you know. Leicester are okay as a defensive unit. Taggart will get a bonus. It's not a bad shout still, I think. Elliott will play alongside him most of the time. And the right back's actually interesting. It's not always, where has he gone? Sinclair. It's usually Sinclair or Rowett. But if Sinclair gets the nod, I've seen him get higher average rating than the centre backs. Aggression 17, so he throws in the tackles. You got Leicester to finish 17th. Okay. I hear that. But yeah, I think Leicester are more. I mean, even the goalkeeper rotates. They can't choose between Flowers and Walker. Walker will play the most over the season, but Flowers comes in every now and then. Low goals, clean sheets, yeah. Generally the thing. Delaney's, I mean, he's a good player at his age. He's developing nicely. I don't think he's a bad shout at all. He wasn't great last season. Again, he was tipped to be pretty good, but he played the majority of games. Just didn't do much. Just bad luck, I think. You think Wise is too old? No, mate. Look at those stats. They're not even on the decline. They should be on the decline. No, I don't think he's too old. Maybe. We'll have to see, I guess. Mackenoff and Savage will fight out for right wing most of the time. Not that Savage. Who the hell is that? Michael Savage. Get out of here. Where's the Welsh wizard? There he is, Robbie. What a guy. Right, we've got last team, Charlton. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Charlton are much changed. They're quite interesting, actually. Let's do transfers first. So it was at the back end of last season they actually signed Brian Hughes. Let's click in now. Attacking midfielder, right, left, centre. Generally gets deployed in centre midfield position ahead of Jensen. He is, however, banned for the first game, so therefore I think Jensen will probably play game week 1. After that, because he's a new signing, and I don't think Jensen's got a particularly high rep, I think this will guy come in, and those are not bad stats at all, are they? So, saying about Whaley before as my 4.5, I think Hughes is probably my number 2, and will kind of take that Jensen role. Doesn't look bad, does he? Michael Clegg is another very interesting purchase. Those of you who have played this game before, played as Man United, I mean, if I ever play as Man United, I basically keep this guy as my backup. And you can see there, aggression 20, bravery 20, stamina, strength, pace, determination. He's kind of like a Mike Duffish kind of player who racks up a lot of tackles. Interesting though, he's actually got pretty high corner stat, and I have him taking corners for Charlton quite often as well. Bearing in mind McAllister's now left. Clegg now takes some corners, so 4.5 million, potential for bonus there, for tackles and some set pieces. So I think he's interesting. The only problem is Charlton will probably ship goals for fun. But there's not many teams who keep clean sheets, is there? Scott Walker was signed. Look at him, he's not a bad pick at all. High jumping, strength, bravery. They've signed some good players again. Charlton did some really good business season 1, and they've gone out and strengthened in the right areas again. They've signed Swartzer, and I think he will replace Kylie. In fact, I'm almost certain of it, to the point where we've run Sims and Swartzer's played every single time to help us with the pricing. So it's not certain because nothing is. Kylie is still there, but he may have played. He won't play his last game because there'll be the odd injury or whatever. But I think Swartzer will come in. So if any of you have got drafts with Kylie in, I think Swartzer is now going to be the guy who comes in to goal. Hasni Al Joffrey, 2.9 million from Dundee United. Yeah, it is good, isn't it? Annie Martin, they've killed it. Left-footed, can obviously play in all these positions. Will probably play left back. So they've got a new left back, new goalkeeper, new centre back in Scott Walker, and a new right back in Clegg. Who's this dude? 17-year-old keeper. And Sean Davis, excellent stats. One of the very best DMs you can buy in the game. If you're a low budget squad, etc., you can do a job. He's got 20 for injury proneness. Pretty sure Kylie is pronounced Kayali. Kayali? Okay, I never heard that. I thought it was Dean Kylie. I swear it's Dean Kylie. Hi Hitman, no worries. Yeah, watch your back. Yeah, this guy's not bad at all. So he has taken over from McAllister, I guess, and Brian Hughes from Jensen. And he's got 20 for injury proneness is the thing, but he will be close to nailed. He's 4.5, pretty sure he is. Might be 5 actually, because he does do alright for goals and assists. Check that, I think he's 5. But yeah, his injury proneness might put a few off. And obviously the guy who will play next to him, the other 4.5 defender they've got, is Richard Rufus, who is unhappy because he wants to move to a bigger club. This guy can do well for bonus and probably get penalties. So they've got lots of interesting individual picks. As for the left and right wing, it's going to be Jason Wilcox, and it's probably going to be Kinsella on the right wing. Occasionally they might throw Hughes onto the right wing, or Robinson, with the odd bit of rotation, like everyone does, and then bring in Jensen. But yeah, the team's pretty solid. They seem to pick the same team most weeks, Charlton, in season 1. I expect it to be the same here. Yeah, Scott Parker's listed for loan. I don't think he's going to see much game time. Well, he definitely won't if he actually goes on loan, will he? And up front, you've obviously got Sean Bartlett, Jason Ewell, who, you know, in targeted fixtures, double game weeks, will still remain good picks. Stewart will probably be the main backup along with Johansson, but we know what we're getting from Charlton. Even though they've bought a lot of new players, I expect it to be quite similar to season 1. Might struggle a little bit more because it was a bit of a freak season in terms of results for them. But player-wise, they've done some good business. So yeah, Leicester and Charlton should go out tomorrow with their final friendly, so I'm not going to click on them. Okay, although I may have just done it by accident and forgotten about it. So I think that's all the teams, guys, that we're looking for today. These are the 10. Kemp saying Bartlett, one of the most underrated strikers. Yeah, he did well. He did well. I remember from your bonus tweets, you know, for one of the cheaper strikers, he wasn't bad for average rating, and it was higher than that. I think it dipped towards the end, but at one stage it was higher than yours. It may have finished higher than yours. Yeah, it did. 7.39 and 7.11 for your. And it's nice to have those guys to fall back on, isn't it, if you blank, as I said right at the start. So I think that's the 10 teams for now, guys. So yeah, the friendlies will keep being churned out, and next week me and FPL Tactician will go through the other 10 teams. Hopefully today's giving you a little bit of information towards going towards your drafts. Not too many big injuries, and many of those are orange flagged, so may still feature. I think Gardner was the main one that was red. Cheers, guys, it's been a pleasure. So there'll be lots more content coming out in the next few days as we ramp it up. Do me a favour, share it, tell people, you know, tell real life friends, whoever. Obviously all this hard work and stuff, it doesn't mean anything unless people are playing it. You know, I'm expecting there probably to be a dip, just because real football's here, we're competing with that. But I think you'll agree, anyone who's actually played this game, if you can just get them to actually play, sign up and give it a go, I can't see why you wouldn't play it again, because it's just so much fun. So spread the news, don't be afraid, forget the hashtag occasionally, and I shall see you on the next one, which will hopefully be in a week's time. Oh, one more question for David Strong, will Keane and Kuhl rotate? They will both play over 30 games, probably, but there will be a little bit of rotation, which is a massive cop-out on that question, isn't it? I put them down both for about 30 games, 31, 32, something like that. Anyway, peace and love. I'm off to practice jokes being said by a caveman. Catch you later, guys.